If the economy evolves as we expect, economic conditions likely would make it appropriate at some point this year to raise the federal funds rate target.
Fed Chair Janet Yellen, her comment from her last testimony in front of Congress. The Fed's rate decision tomorrow, the focus of this trading week, this trading month. Rhian Horgan is with me now. She manages more than $125 billion in assets as J.P. Morgan's global head of alternative investment strategies. Rhian, great to have you with us. Thank you very much. So this low interest rate environment, which has been going on basically since 2008, has created a real dilemma for investors, especially everyday people who just want to save, right? In a bond fund, you get paid nothing. Maybe the stock market's too risky. What are you seeing as far as how this fits into alts?
Look, I think investors have a real conundrum. They know they need to be invested to achieve growth for the long term, but the real question is, how do I manage this volatility today? You look at the month of August, and clearly tremendous volatility in the market. So I think what investors are looking for are strategies that enable them to have kind of consistent returns. The best defense can often be the best offense, but they're also selectively thinking about where can I put capital to work for the long term and really earn returns.
Because at the end of the day, people want more than just stocks or bonds, right? Sort of like a few generations ago was 60-40. Just do 60% in the stock market, 40% in the bond market. Chances are you'll end up okay. But that model doesn't really work anymore.
Yeah, well, the phrase the industry uses is alternatives, but I think that's a bit of a misnomer because these strategies,
nobody knows what it is.
Well, these strategies are mainstream. They're there to either help protect your portfolio, provide diversification, get you to stay invested, or they're there to actually enhance returns. If you look at the private markets, you can invest in 25 times more companies if you're willing to invest in the private markets than just the public markets.
So when you say alternatives and this moniker that maybe just people aren't used to, institutions, pension funds, universities have been using these for years, right? And one of the most common is what's known as a 40 Act, and it's basically a hedge fund strategy available, though, in a mutual fund, so somebody with as little as $1,200 can invest. Do those big, muscly strategies work for average people?
So I would say 10 years ago, the answer would have been no. There really wasn't a lot of options for the average retail investor. But the good news is there's been a lot of product innovation. There's a number, as you mentioned, 40 Act funds that provide daily liquidity. They enable investors to dial up, dial down exposures. They'll often
and if they feel like selling that day, they can. It's liquid.
They can get out. I think the important thing is to really understand what you're buying. So an equity long-short fund can have 20% market exposure, can have 50% market exposure, can have 80%. And so how that strategy is going to perform in the month of August is going to be really different depending on the market exposure that manager runs.
All right, Rhian, come back, please. We'd love to have you. Rhian Horgan joining us there, J.P. Morgan Global Head of Alternative Investment Strategies.